Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back or welcome to Bitch Bet Podcast. I am your host, April. This is our first video episode of the podcast. And if the video option is not available on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this, you can definitely find it on my YouTube and Rumble channels. I will try and make sure that the video option is available to all the platforms, but if I'm not able to make that happen this month, I will definitely make sure it happens next month. I hope everybody's new year is treating them nicely. I hope everybody's month is going well. I hope that nobody else got the nasty cold sickness that was going around at the beginning of the year, because me and my husband got it and it was not fun. It was definitely hanging on for dear life, no matter how hard I tried to get everything out. But thankfully, I am finally over it, I believe. And if you're feeling a bit under the weather, then I hope the sickness passes fast and you can get over it quickly. So when I first started this podcast, I was kind of content with it being just an audio podcast. I didn't really have any intentions of making it a video podcast. And I liked I always struggle with this word, the anonymity, the idea of being anonymous. With this podcast, I didn't want to put my face with it. I was just content with having a logo and having my name out there, but I just didn't really want it to have my face behind it. And that obviously has changed if it wasn't blatantly obvious, but I wanted to kind of explain why I had the change of heart and why I basically completely restructured my entire podcast at like 4 o'clock in the morning one night. And it's because since I still don't have a job, hopefully I'm going to be changing that relatively soon, but I still am without a job. So my sleep schedule got fucked up. I was basically on a vampire schedule. I was up at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon when the sun was setting, and I was up all night, and then I was going to bed right as the sun was rising. So there's not much to do during those hours than to just sit there and contemplate life and just think about all the different things that have happened in your life. And I started listening to a couple different podcasts, and basically I was just starting to remember when I was a kid, I got a lot of attention. And what I mean by that is like I got a lot of awards as a child. I was always a part of different like productions, whether it was holiday production, school production, special event productions, no matter what it was. If a show was happening that the school was putting on, I got some important role in that show, whether I had speaking parts or whether I was just supposed to be like a really crucial part in the show. I just always got tasked with these parts. And I wasn't trying to, like, I wasn't actively seeking these parts out. They just kind of always ended up happening to me. And I didn't really question it. I was just like, yeah, okay, like no big deal. And I just kind of went along with it. And then I remembered that once I started middle school, I basically started avoiding attention like the plague. I didn't want anybody to notice me. I didn't want any part in any production. I was good with just fading into the background. I had absolutely no interest in any of this. So, as one does at 3 o'clock in the morning, you ask yourself, why? Why did this happen? What was the change? And you just kind of just self-reflect on life. So I think what ended up happening, and it also kind of fits in to the storyline and the timeline of when my dad's ex-wife, or my mom, started running her mouth to me and start just constantly tearing me down in any way that she could think of, whether it was my looks, how my body looked, how my body was changing, my acne, like anything and everything under the sun that she could point out, she did. And that started happening when I went into middle school and after I left elementary school. And also when I started to completely avoid attention like the plague. And I was like, oh shit, like all of these things are connected. She didn't like that I was getting attention and I was getting attention so effortlessly and I was getting all these important roles, I guess, in all these productions. So I was getting a lot of attention and she didn't like that. She was a very jealous person and she couldn't stand the fact that a 10-year-old or younger was getting all this attention and she wasn't. So she then made it her mission to tear me down at every opportunity possible. And then as I got older, her son, or my dad's son, decided that he was going to jump on the bandwagon because the shitty apple does not fall from the shitty tree. But I don't really remember a lot of the things that were like said to me as a kid. Like verbatim, I couldn't tell you exactly all the nasty things that got hurled at me during my childhood, but they basically all just kind of chalked up to I was fat and ugly. I was fat and ugly, and I have always been relatively skinny, even when I was a child. I've stayed pretty much this size since I want to say a teenager. I might have been like slightly a bit bigger, but mostly like my face is a bit chubbier as a teenager, but I was still just very much skinny. And I wasn't trying to be skinny. I just naturally was skinny. And my dad's ex-wife is also naturally skinny to the point where I think I was in like 4th grade or something. I was definitely in elementary school, and one of the kids that was in my class like asked me if my mom was anorexic because she was that fucking skinny. And I didn't know what that meant at that age. So I asked my dad. I was like, "Hey dad, like is mom anorexic?" And he goes, "No. What do you like where are you getting this from?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like someone in my class asked me if she was anorexic." And he goes, "No, she's just skinny." And she was skinnier than I am. Like skin and bone skinny, like turns sideways, disappears skinny. She was it was like an unnatural and an unhealthy type of skinny. And if that's the one genetic that I got from her, I'll take it. But thankfully I added some curves, so I made this look good, so it's not completely gross. But yeah, so just basically everything that they hurled at me was just basically I was fat and ugly. And I didn't put a lot of weight behind it and didn't put a lot of stake in it. I just kind of learned to tune them out as time went on. And because I don't really remember a lot of my childhood, so thinking back on it, I kind of remember it as like a Charlie Brown episode where like, you know, the adults just go want, 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 want. Like that's what I hear when I think back on my childhood. And granted, I tried to just let them run their mouths because it was easier to let them just talk than to try and deal with it. But I was still a kid. I was still learning not only the complexities of my temper, but also how to control it. So there were definitely times where I was not helping the situation. And I ended up making it a whole lot worse. And sometimes it led to physical altercations and it led to a lot of nasty things getting said and it led to me getting in trouble. But I have no regrets. I said everything I said with my whole ass chest and I don't regret it. I still stand on everything that I've said in my childhood. I never really wanted to listen to the utter nonsense that they were talking about because, quite frankly, both of their voices annoyed the fuck out of me. So I was content with just letting it go in one ear, out the other. And let's be honest, it's not like anything that they said was of substance anyway. So I wasn't missing anything. And although I can't remember exactly what was said to me, I still do remember just like all the things that I felt after hearing all that stuff. And it really led me to go to therapy. And my dad's ex-wife was the topic of conversation a lot, and a lot of things that she said were a topic of conversation a lot, but it just really left me feeling with a lot of feelings of not being good enough no matter what I did. Nothing was ever right. I always had to do something else, and just nothing I did ever pleased her. And it just felt like I had to jump through all these imaginary hoops for what? And I didn't feel like I was getting anything out of it. And I just felt like there was nothing that I could do because I was hearing a lot of things when I was home, and then I would go to my best friend's house at the time and I would hear different things from her family, and it was just a lot of conflicting opinions and conflicting views, and I was like, cool, there's nothing that I can do, right? So I'll just go fuck myself then. And it was like no matter what I did, nothing was ever good enough, and I was never going to be good enough, and it just sucked. And how I didn't get an eating disorder living in that house and living with that person, I will never know, because all signs point to I should have an eating disorder. Not saying that I have the best relationship with food, because I definitely don't, or that I have the best self-esteem, because I also definitely don't, and not to say that I haven't struggled with my own body issues, because I definitely have, and I still do. But I somehow managed to just miss having an eating disorder. I'll never know, but I managed to not have that problem. I was listening to the Multiple Truths podcast a while back, which, now thinking about it, probably is what started this whole self-reflection spiral that I kind of went down with myself. Because they had an episode where they were talking about body image, and they were both sharing their stories with their own journey with their own body images. And then so it then prompted me to think about my own journey and my own struggles with it. And it's been a ride. It really has been. But I can confidently say I'm starting to get better. And I've started to actually notice how I'm talking to myself in a different way than I've talked to myself in the past. Because I've said this to my husband. I think I even said it last month when I was talking to my gorgeous cousin Amanda on the podcast, where I just, for the longest time, like I want to say up until like maybe a year ago, if that. Sure, we'll just say like a year ago. Maybe a year and a half. We'll give it some time. Like a year and a half ago, I just felt like I was nothing special. Like, I didn't think I was pretty. I didn't think there was anything like super exciting about me. I just kind of thought I merely just like existed. And I've told my husband this multiple times, and he's like, I don't understand where you're getting that, because you're amazing. And I'm like, thank you. I don't know where you're getting that, but I'll take it. And through this self-reflection and through just me thinking about like all these different things, I realized, and I said this last month too, that there was never anything fucking wrong with me. And when I tell you, I felt like a bus hit me when I had that thought like just skyrocket across my brain. I felt like a fucking bus hit me, because it was like an earth-shattering, or not earth-shattering, but like a glass-shattering moment where I was like, holy fucking shit. There was nothing ever fucking wrong with me. There was nothing ever wrong with me as a child, because she wasn't doing anything to warrant all this attention. She just got it effortlessly, just doing what she wanted to do. And just being the person that she was. And she just always got these opportunities of like having these important roles and having these, important things to do. And there was nothing fucking wrong with her, but it's because somebody else didn't like the fact that she was getting this attention, that they decided that they needed to put her in a box. So they fucking put her in a box. And I think that was one of the reasons that I never wanted to have this be a video podcast, because I was still letting that box control me, because they created the box and they initially put me in the box, And then since I've been in that box for well over a decade now, probably almost maybe 2 decades. 20 years? No, almost 2 decades. And so then it begged the question, why am I letting irrelevant people keep me in a box? And the answer was they fucking shouldn't be keeping me in the box, because I was just keeping myself in the box. So I decided that there was no fucking reason why I shouldn't have this be a video podcast. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, I completely rethought the entire podcast. And I was like, okay, where am I going to film this? Like, what do I want as my background? You know, this, and that. I hijacked my husband's computer, and he lets me hijack it, and I move all of his Legos around, and I put up my Legos that I want to have up. And I just decided that there's nothing fucking wrong with me. So if there's nothing fucking wrong with me, then why am I hiding? Plain and simple. I really found that phrase has really been helping me within like the past 2 months. Yeah, because I had this revelation right before me and my cousin started recording last month's episode, and I originally told her when we were planning everything, I was like, hey, like, don't worry, because I normally record them as videos, but then I just attach the audio, and that's what I put out. So I told her, I was like, don't worry about, like, if your makeup's done, if you don't want to do your makeup, it's no big deal, like, I'll just have the video file for myself, it's nothing, don't worry about it. And then she's like, okay, cool. Then either the day before or the day of, we were set to record. I was like, hey, just kidding. I changed my mind and we're going to do a video episode. And she was like, okay. And she went with it. And then technology was not on my side last month. So eventually, when we were going through all the recordings, I was like, you know what? We're just going to keep this an audio one. And I wanted also to be able to explain why I made the shift and why I made the switch. So I was like, that's just too much for one episode. And I knew ours was going to be long enough. So I was like, I'll just save this for next month and for like the first episode of the new year. I was like, I'll just save that and that'll just be what I talk about. But that phrase, nothing's fucking wrong with you, has really been helping me with my own body image and self-esteem issues, because there's nothing fucking wrong with me. So I started doing this thing before I hop in the shower, and my husband looked over at me one day and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, nothing, I'm just working on something, like no big deal. And he goes, oh, like body positivity? And I was like, no, more like just body acceptance, because there was nothing wrong with my body. So there's something I have to like be positive about. I just have to accept my body as it is, because as it is, it's a beautiful body. And there's nothing wrong with it. So I just have to accept it as it is. It's slowly starting to work, and I try and keep it as consistent as possible with doing it at least every day. But some days I just want to hop in the shower and just go to bed. But I keep it pretty consistent where I do it at least once a day. And I'm starting to notice like the mental shift I'm having with how I talk to myself, just like mentally. And if you listen to last month's episode where we had a tangent about inner monologues, spoiler alert, I don't have one, but I still talk to myself, and it's not like an inner monologue because it's just very sporadic and it's just very random. So I do have those inner thoughts, but they're just not a continuous thing like most people have, like my husband, where they have like inner monologues. But I'm just really happy that I've started to see my own progress with that, because I've been struggling with this for fucking ever. And I always knew it was something I needed to work on, but it was like one of those things where I was like, okay, I know this is a problem, but I have no idea how to fix it. And it's funny because that's what I ended up saying to my therapist, where when we first met, I was like, I know exactly what my problem is. The issue lies where I don't know how to fix it. And that's where you come in. And she was like, okay. And it was she kind of got shocked by that because she was like, I think I might have been the first person that she helped where I was like, I know exactly what my issue is. I just have no idea how to fix it. She's like, oh, okay. As I've always been very self-aware with what my issues are, I just don't always know how to fix them. So, yeah. And I think looking back at it now, probably one of the reasons, if not like the main reason why I didn't end up with an eating disorder was because I knew that no matter what I did, it was never going to be enough. No matter what ideal version this woman had of me in her brain, that I needed to look a certain way or be a certain way or have a certain look to myself or whatever, I knew that even if I decided to break my body to try and reach and become this fantasy version of myself, that I was never going to make it happen because she was always just going to keep moving the goalpost. It was never going to be something that I could actually achieve. And it was always going to be something that I still did wrong, or I wasn't doing the correct way, or I wasn't doing something enough, or I wasn't, there was always just going to be something that I wasn't doing right. And there's always going to be something that she needed to nitpick at me. There was always going to be something she needed to tell me that I wasn't doing the way that she wanted me to do. So it was just always going to be something that was going to be a reason why I couldn't get what I wanted. I was never going to get her approval. And I think just deep down, I knew that no matter what she said, it wasn't worth shit. And although it sucked in the moment, hearing all those things and having to be in that environment for so long, deep down, I knew that it wasn't worth putting any weight into because it was never going to be something that I could change. And it was never going to be something that I could obtain. So I was like, why even try to become this version that she wants me to be when I know damn well I'm never going to become that person, and I'm never going to get what I wanted from all that time. So I was like, it's not even worth it. It's not worth my time. It's not worth my energy. It's not worth my body to try and become that unrealistic version of myself. And yeah, so I think that might be why, because I knew deep down, no matter what she said, it wasn't fucking worth shit. And it's still not fucking worth shit, no matter what she says now. But she can say it to whoever the fuck wants to listen, because it's not going to be me. Last thing that I want to touch on before I wrap up this episode, because it is surprisingly fitting. I was scrolling through TikTok, as one does, because why not? And I came across this post, this astrology post, because spoiler alert, I like astrology, if you couldn't tell from my fuzzy blanket, or the episode I did where I talk about why I like astrology. But I came across this post where it talked about Chiron through the different houses, and there's 12 houses of astrology. And Chiron is like the newest addition to astrology, and so they're still trying to like figure out all like what Chiron means and who and what zodiac sign rules it, and just like the energy it brings into the universe and how it affects us in our aspects of life. And basically, Chiron symbolizes or signifies your deepest wound. So just like the lesson you were meant to learn in your lifetime, basically. And so I was like, okay. And once I learned about Chiron, it kind of piqued my interest. I was like, okay, like this is interesting. And I still have my own research to do on Chiron. So if you want to learn more, definitely look into it yourself, because I am not an astrologer. So don't take my word for anything, because I just read textbooks on astrology for fun, to just learn about myself. But anyway, I looked at my own chart and I was like, okay, like my Chiron resides in the 3rd house. So I went and found what it means in the 3rd house, and this is what it reads. Chiron in the third house carries a wound around words, thoughts, and connections. Kind of like my childhood. It's like trying to shout in a dream, no one else seems to hear you, or you're afraid you'll say the wrong thing. This might stem from early struggles with being misunderstood, feeling intellectually less than, or having tricky relationships with siblings or close connections. You may battle with the belief that your voice doesn't matter, that your words don't stick. That sounds very much like my childhood. And it also definitely sounds like one of the main reasons why I went to therapy in the first place. And once I read that, which is also one of the reasons why I will never understand how people think astrology is bullshit, because that it almost reads me to a T, or at least reads my deepest wound to a T. And I've already been living that wound long before I discovered Chiron and really got into astrology. So do with that what you will. But believe what you want to believe. I'm just here to make sense of my own life. You're here to make sense of your life. However you want to do that, more power to you. But I've been slowly working on healing that wound for quite a while. And I don't think that was the reason I started this podcast. But it definitely plays into kind of the undertones of this podcast, because I definitely get to not only reclaim my voice, but also just reclaim my story and reclaim the experiences that I had as a child, and just kind of be able to stand on my soapbox and be like, this is what I'm going to talk about today, and this is what I got to say about it, and if you don't like it, then fuck off. But it definitely does help with that wound, and I'm still kind of working on things myself to fully heal that wound and put it behind me. But I don't think the wound's bleeding anymore, which I think is a good sense of progress. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm going to leave this episode. So let me know about any boxes that other people have created for you that you decided to break down for yourself, because no one should keep you in a box, and no one should build a box around you. And I don't know why I'm thinking of the quote from Dirty Dancing, nobody puts baby in a corner, but I feel like it fits. Also, never seen that movie, but I know enough references to make it seem like I see a lot of movies. But yeah. So if there's anything that you want to take from this episode, there's nothing fucking wrong with you, just like there's nothing fucking wrong with me. Don't forget to follow the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, share this episode. You can follow the podcast on social media. It's Bitch Bet Podcast, all one word with an I instead of an exclamation point. And rate this episode 5 stars. If you want to support the podcast in absolutely any way, I do have a Patreon that you're more than welcome to check out. I finally also figured out kind of what I want to do with my Patreon. I started having a bunch of random thoughts that were centering around a specific topic, and I didn't really know what to do with them, so I decided I might as well just make a podcast episode about it and just title it Random Rants, because they're random and it's just me ranting about random things that don't really necessarily fit in with kind of my podcast and the topics that I cover on my podcast. So I figured, I'll just put them on my Patreon. And if you want to check those out, then you are more than welcome to. I should have the first one up around the time that this episode is live, if not a little bit after. But check in with that to see if you want to tune in to the Patreon to see what random rants I'm going to be ranting about. As always, to all the native voices in your head, bitch bet, and I will see you all next month.